We didn't know Klay Thompson before Meg Thee Stallion. We didn't know Stefon Diggs before Cardi B. And while these guys have more money than these girls have social and global influence. Meg Thee Stallion made Klay a global star, whether he wants to admit or not.
False. Klay Thompson, if we're going to talk about global, Klay Thompson won Olympic gold, right? Not only did he win Olympic gold, but he's known as a splash brother to Steph Curry. So his fame, he had that way before he even thought about meeting Meg Thee Stallion. But let's continue.
These men like to use these women for come-ups and for social status because, don't ever get it twisted, girls. Social currency is still a currency. If you are well known in your circle and you are well respected, a guy can use that for social come-up because being with you makes him look good. If Meg Thee Stallion is dating him, he must be popping. He must be giving guys.
Well respected? Did she really just use well respected? Hot Girl Summer and WAP in every man's mind is not a respectable song or theme song. In fact, WAP and Hot Girl Summer are the reasons why relationships don't work, because we know once the summertime comes up, she want to get that hot ass back out there. Let's continue.
You need to be very, very careful because guys are users just like girls. I would even say more. A guy knows when he has a woman that he can use to make himself look better. And I think sometimes the insecurity that we have in ourselves do not allow us to see what we are actually worth, what our currency.
You didn't think this through. This is what happens when you make dumb decisions in life. Everyone's cost.
What our currency is. But a man can see it. A man can see your value economically before you. And it does not even need to be money. It's status, it's reputation. When you're around his friends, how does you standing next to him make him feel and look? But because a lot of us are insecure, a lot of us don't see ourselves the way the outside sees us. That's why a guy can pick you and you could be like, oh my God, he picked me. He's a money man. He's this. No, he picked you because you have status, because you have social currency, and because you're that.
This by far is one of the worst takes that I've ever heard, because she made it seem as if Klay Thompson's career has blown up because of Meg Thee Stallion, right? Klay Thompson is now famous because of Meg Thee Stallion. Hot Girl Summer and WAP is, oh my gosh, it just made Klay look like this amazing playboy. Well, they should have actually seen his roster, meaning the women that he was dealing with before and while he was dealing with Meg Thee Stallion. In fact, you know what's crazy to me is it sounds like Meg gave Klay Thompson the ultimatum and Klay said, you know what? Nah, I can't be monogamous. Not to her. Why would he choose her to be monogamous with? Now, why I believe this is important is because women see themselves as Meg Thee Stallion, meaning they can look like her. They can plaster themselves. They can completely cover themselves in makeup. They can put on the colorful wigs. They can wear the crazy fingernails. Like, they can literally look like her. But men keep saying, you know what? I mean, listen, Meg Thee Stallion is cool, right? I'm not saying that Meg Thee Stallion is ugly, but like, is Meg Thee Stallion like the best looking woman that a man has ever seen? I mean, maybe for some men, but that is not the general consensus of the majority of men. Now, the crazy thing about her saying that that Meg made him a global icon is crazy, because he has a shoe and his shoe is selling in China. I just stated that he is also a global brand in China as well, where his shoe is actually selling. The funny thing is, money is what makes the social media following valid, right? If you're a guy who is a $250 million athlete, think about that. If you're a $250 million athlete who's at the end of his career, but could potentially get to $300 million status as far as what he's made in his career, you don't think that he could get other women? Do you really think that Meg Thee Stallion made him? In fact, Meg Thee Stallion said that she needed a break. Well, she got the break. The break was her getting into this relationship. Now she's back into the streets where she lived, where she's making her living. In fact, Meg Thee Stallion, one could say, is actually ruining Klay's reputation and brand, because being with a woman like Meg, now, is this one of those mood swings that she was talking about? Because here we can kind of see that, like, everybody in the background, right, they're not reacting the way that she's reacting. She's the only one that seems to have this type of reaction to whatever is going on. It's horrible, especially if you're known as the clean-cut professional guy who does things by the book. Right? This woman putting his business out in the street could actually ruin his brand, because she's using him as a stepping stone to potentially put out different music. In other words, Meg Thee Stallion is using Klay Thompson to rebuild her image that is destroyed. Think about this. Tory Lanez is in jail, is in prison because of what Meg Thee Stallion said and did. All of that commotion, all of that fighting and everything that happened because of Meg Thee Stallion. Now, when we see Meg and Klay, at that event that they went to, Meg was the only one that was acting all wild and crazy, while everybody else in and around him did not have that same type of reaction. Women, y'all have to pay attention to who y'all listening to, because when she said that a man picks a woman based on his status, that is false. Or let me say it this way. That is some men. Some men choose a woman based on her status. What men choose a woman on is what she looks like, her reputation, how she treats the guy, right? Because their reputation, Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion, they are literally the faces of WAP. And how is that life going for both of them? How is that life going for both of them? The one thing that she did get right is social media wise, they have a bigger following. But what matters is the economics. It is the money. For instance, a woman like Meg Thee Stallion or Cardi B could help me with my social media presence and status, because their platforms are so huge. But at the same time, as far as a relationship goes, as far as like you holding this woman up as a trophy, it's not going to really do you that good, because how long are they going to be around? The list of men that they have, the guys that are in their DMs, crazy. Meaning you're not going to be able to stay in a relationship with those women, because they will never be happy. They may be happy for, like a small amount of time. But let me ask you guys this. When have you ever went to a store, whether it's in person or online, and seen happiness for sale? And if it is on sale, is it expensive? Is it on discount? Is it in the clearance rack? And how many women have actually bought happiness from a store? Because I ain't seen that. So y'all let me know if y'all have. The reputation that Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B both have is that they got some WAP. So the guys that they're dealing with are trying to figure out, hey, let me check out, let me get a turn, right? Like, let me get a turn. Let me see if they really got that WAP. Let me see what the fuss is all about, right? Now they get to judge and determine, okay, let me see how your WAP is versus her WAP and her WAP and her WAP and her WAP and her WAP. Because here's the funny thing about women who finally make it to that high tier status, right? Those women realize that their competition more than likely looks better than them. Their competition more than likely is younger than them. Their competition is not all out in front of everybody and accessible to everybody. Now, they may be accessible, but they're nowhere near as accessible as Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion are. On top of that, we've seen Meg and Cardi with a whole bunch of other professional athletes, other professional celebrities, other musicians. So what makes these men believe that this is a woman that they can have to themselves? they don't think that. In fact, she brought up Stefon Diggs. Now, Stefon Diggs at the time also had what, 3 other children while he had Cardi B pregnant. So he had 4 women pregnant at one time. So again, if we're talking about status, whose status really matters? Does Cardi B and Meg the Stallion status matter, or does Stefon Diggs and Klay Thompson status matter? Because they clearly both have made more money. Now, again, the one thing that she did get right is that their social media platforms are bigger than those guys, but those guys aren't making money based on social media. They're making money based on what they do on the field and on the court. That's what's going on. Now, speaking of professional athletes, again, for this woman, it made sense to me when she said that nobody knows who Klay or Stefon Diggs is. And I said, well, okay, that's probably because she's not in the United States. Because if she were in the United States, she would know exactly who they are. I just told you that Stefon Diggs had 4 women pregnant the same time he had Cardi B pregnant. Well, including Cardi B. So he had 3 women plus Cardi B. And if you see the women that he has gotten pregnant, plus he still has children before them, and Cardi B was well aware of his status with other women and children. She understood exactly what she was getting herself into. So how is she now the victim? While you're a professional athlete, you realize that you only have a certain amount of time for you to make money as a professional athlete, because at some point in time, your body is going to break down. Most athletes are aware of this, but it is the hardest thing to accept, because you will always feel like you can still get the job done. Right? Whether the money is motivating you, whether the lifestyle is motivating you, or whether you're just in love with that particular sport. The reason I bring that up is because these guys have to have a certain mentality, because that's how they made it to become pro anyway. There are millions of guys that they have to beat out every single year, whether they're injured and hurt or not. And if you follow, well, of course she didn't follow Klay's career, but if she followed Klay's career, she'd know that Klay Thompson got injured. So because he got injured, that brought his role down, which brought his money down. So if we're talking about mood swings, that makes complete sense, because he understands if he does not perform, he will be sent home. She talked about social currency again. I said, okay, you know what? That's a good point. Both of them do have a lot of social currency, but the only reason social currency matters is because of the economic currency that is backed by the social. Meaning, how much money are you making based on your following? Right? Are they coming to your shows? Are they buying merch? Are they paying? Are they paying for everything that these women are doing? Are they buying? Are they going to places that these 2 women tell them to go to? Like, what is the influence that these 2 women, Meg and Cardi, what influence do they actually have? Can they influence these women to spend a lot of money? And if they are, how much money are they making from that? Because I can tell you, both Stefon Diggs and Klay Thompson are making way more than Cardi B and Meg the Stallion are. And let's just say that Cardi B is making more than Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs was at the Super Bowl. He was playing in the Super Bowl. Cardi B showed up as like a special host or a special guest, but he was one of the stars on the football field. So again, if we're talking about status, whose status matters more? The guy who's actually in the game that everybody's watching and looking for, or is it a woman that already has children by other men? Ladies, I don't say any of this to bring y'all down. I say all of this so you have an understanding of the reality that you're living in. This woman is speaking as if she's in the same dating pool as these men. Here on my channel, I'm encouraging men to work their way up to becoming a fractioner, right? And the reason I use the term fractioner is because Stefon Diggs and Klay Thompson, they don't even register as 1%. These guys register as an imaginary thought. Think about it. 250 million. And for Stefon Diggs, I believe what he made in his career is like 169 million, or 100, somewhere between 139 and 169 million. Now, with all them damn children he got, that's probably going to be the downfall of his money. But Cardi B knew this well before she even dealt with him. So why would she deal with him? Because he's a high status man, or he's a high income earning man. That's why she dealt with him. Or maybe it was because she was looking for revenge, or trying to prove a point to Offset that she could still be out here giving out turns, right? She could be out here giving out turns versus being a wife. That's what she's proven to Offset. But as men, we already know that, because men will say whatever they need to say to see what that bounce back actually feels like. But you know what? I have a question for you guys. What do you think? Comment your thoughts under this video. Also, I want to thank you, especially if you made it this far in the video. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, because I'm posting daily content. So I'll check you guys on the next one. Peace.